Good day, our viewers and our listeners. This is Dr. Kaveh Elahiun coming to you guys with another fantastic interview. Wellness Influencers is proud to present Dr. Jonathan Lazar. Today, we will be talking about all the latest news we have about coronavirus. We will dive into some aspects that how we can boost our immunity, all the social distancing, what precautions we need to take, what this virus is, and all related information as much as Dr. Lazar will give us. Dr. Lazar, thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Give us a bit of an introduction of yourself and let our viewers know who you are, where you're practicing, and all the related info.
Sure. Sounds good. So I am an upper cervical chiropractor in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and happy to be here. I've got a fantastic wife, 3 awesome kids. Those are my important jobs. And then I'm a clinic director. We have a 3-doctor office, and we all do the same specialty care, which is great. I've got a radio show that I've done for 9 years. I have a book out called Live Life Well, Unlocking the Secrets to Living Your Best Life. And we just teach wherever we can. I teach it as adjunct faculty at 3 chiropractic colleges, and really just want to spread the message of hope. I mean, we're hope dealers, and that's what excites us.
This is amazing. I have been trying my best to come as much and as often as I can on Facebook and on our interviews, especially with the podcast, trying to bring some rational thinking to this whole web of information that we are getting, and we are trying to basically make sense of it. Now,
Sure.
Coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
Give us the download, Doc.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. I think there are 2 ends of the spectrum. There are people who are just in full mass hysteria, going crazy. The world is going to end. The economy is going to crash. We're not going to make it out of it. It's time for the apocalypse. And then there's the other end of the spectrum where people say, it's really not that big of a deal. I don't know what everybody's worried about. I actually get all the positions. If I can share just a short story, there was a time I was unrelated to this, but I'll circle back, which will explain my position. But I was in the grocery store, and there was this woman with really, really unruly kids. Now, I love to take care of kids on the autism spectrum with sensory issues. But this was like judgmental parent 101. Like, I was judging this woman like crazy because her kids were just nuts in the grocery store. They're throwing things. And I really started to judge her heavily, which I'm not proud to admit, but it was true. And then we get to the front, and I was getting angry, thinking that's not fair to anybody else. I wasn't even noble about it. I wasn't thinking, lady, this is going to be a hard time when your kids get older. I wasn't thinking any of that. I was just being selfish, thinking, I don't want to hear your kids throw a fit in the grocery store. And so we get to the checkout line, and I happen to be right behind her and these rowdy kids, and they're throwing stuff, and mom is yelling at them. And I'm just like, oh my word, this is crazy. And the clerk was getting kind of worked up, and the mom looked at her and teared up. And I thought, oh, here we go. And she said, I have to apologize for my kids' behavior. I'm holding it together the best I can. My husband just ran off with his admin, and I found out today my breast cancer is out of remission. And
Ooh.
I'm just doing the best I can, and I'm really, really sorry. And in a moment, my heart shifted from judgment to compassion. And I thought, not only am I a jerk for judging this poor lady, I want to buy her groceries. I want to load them in her car. I want to buy her gas. Like, this woman is hurting, and I was just a total jerk about it. So the lesson I learned there, and unfortunately didn't hurt anybody but myself when I was judgmental like that, was that we need to suspend judgment till we're better informed. And so that really has been my position in this. I haven't taken a huge position, one, because I don't know that it's my business unless people ask. Now you've asked, so I will share it. But what I can tell you is this: fear is not a good place to make decisions. So if we can, I think we should step out of the fear. It's real. Fear is real. But I don't think we can evaluate anything objectively in a state of fear. I also So I don't think it's as bad as everybody's making it out to be. From an immunology standpoint, I assure you it's not nearly as bad as people are making it out to be. It's actually one of the weaker viruses. It can be killed with not very much heat, which is why doctors are suggesting let fevers run their course. You and I have been saying that for decades, but now it's kind of public knowledge. Let the fever run its course. Don't suppress the fever. Where I'm concerned is where I would be with anybody, people that have, recently had an organ transplant or are, pretty advanced diabetic or have big diagnoses that are weakening their immune systems. Of course, they're going to be at higher risk. But the most common symptoms for coronavirus are fever, sore throat, and dry, unproductive cough. So the truth is, I think we've actually been dealing with coronavirus much longer than we've been talking about it. Just being on the front lines in clinic like you are, I've seen a lot of stuff since, late fall into December. People have been going through, and the problem, what I don't like about what I'm seeing is the fear that's coming from the numbers being published. The numbers are real, but what they mean is important to talk about. And to finish answering this question, I think the fear is coming from the numbers, but the numbers are coming because people are being tested. Nobody was being tested in October, November, December, January, February. It wasn't until recently that people were being tested. So of course, if we test everybody, we're going to see a lot of numbers. I think we all need to take a deep breath, just stay calm, follow what we need to do, and do what we can to boost our immune systems, which I'm sure we'll talk about today at some point.
It's funny that you mentioned a very close friend of mine. It was, I think, late November. He developed these symptoms that when I look at his symptoms now, and by the way, he's a health professional, he's a doctor himself and specialist in that. When you look at his symptoms then, and you look at the symptoms that they say the coronavirus will have, they're absolute mirror image of each other.
Sure, absolutely.
And he was out of it for probably easy 2 weeks. He was absolutely couldn't go to work. The fever was amazing. He was feeling very lethargic and all the stuff. Now,
absolutely.
When it comes to coronavirus itself, we all know that rate of infection will depend on how fast it spreads. All the public health have given us all the fantastic guidelines to washing hands, social distancing, and people sometimes don't even think that you wash your hand and now you're touching other surfaces. You still need to wash hands.
Sure.
You need to do social distancing, but social distancing doesn't mean get away from your family, get away from your loved ones. You still can connect with them.
Sure.
Because that human connection and that love needs to come through, so it will calm us down and elevate our perspective.
Absolutely.
Now, for some of the things that you have done in the office to combat this, and you have suggested to your patients, if you can go through that list, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. So we've taken some pretty extreme precautions. We've spread our schedule out. We are absolutely keeping people out of the emergency department. So that is the reason we're really working hard diligently, because if everybody that has any sort of, one of the signs of coronavirus is body aches and pains, right? And so, people that are coming in, if they're concerned about things, and we can get them adjusted and they're feeling better, my goodness, that totally lightens the load. So I'm super thrilled to still be serving. All three of us all three doctors in the office are taking care of patients with the intention of contributing to the solution. Precautions we're taking are we've spread the schedule out so there's never more than 10 people in the office at a time. We are cleaning the rooms between each visit, so wiping down the tables, the grab bars, the doorknobs, the equipment, anything that's touched. We've done away. We have kind of a pretty high-end feeling clinic where we've got coffee and cups and stuff. We've done away with anything that has to be washed, so we've switched to paper products. We're washing our hands with soap and water according to CDC guidelines between each patient. We've also converted our consultation room, which has a separate outside entrance, into a quarantine room. So if people feel like they may have been exposed and are still wanting help, they can come directly from their car into that room. A doctor will meet them in there and get them adjusted, and then they can leave and they're not exposing anybody else in the office to things. And then the reverse of that is true. People that are immune compromised and are concerned, we have an option for them to come into a quarantine room. And we've also expanded our hours so that we can see people when nobody else is in the office. For patients that are diabetic or have a diabetic family member at home and they're concerned about sharing things, we have some hours where we'll meet them in there privately so that they're not around any other people. And then the last thing, we have a car to suite program right now where people can pull up, they can call the office and say, hey, I'm in the parking lot. And then when their suite is cleaned and available, we can call them and say, okay, your suite is ready. You can come on in, and they'll come in and get adjusted and leave. So we haven't had any zero issues as far as, any symptoms increasing, any people concerned about spread, but we've also been very diligent to make sure that we can serve safely, right? We don't want to put anybody else at risk, first do no harm. And so, and we've taken that very seriously. And I can tell you our community is so grateful. They're very, very appreciative of that.
Dr. Lazar, I applaud you because as chiropractors, as primary healthcare providers, it is our responsibility to take care of our community, our community members, and to make sure that we leave all those urgent care spots for people who need it.
That's right.
This needs to be communicated to everybody that this is a service, and you and I are in the front lines. Am I scared? No, but I am concerned. I want to make sure those spots are left for people who need them and who need them urgently.
Right.
To funnel all the musculoskeletal away from the hospital, it is amazing how much it opens room for the other doctors, other medical doctors, the hospital staff, to triage patients through faster.
Well, that's important. I mean, statistically speaking, more people have died of influenza in 2020 than have died of coronavirus. Now, you can, people could say, well, that's because they didn't test for corona. Fair. That's because, but statistically speaking, influenza is still more powerful as far as the death rate is concerned. Also, SARS and MRSA all have a higher death rate than corona. So in terms of the danger of the virus itself, it's not one of the most dangerous viruses in terms of, contraction to death rate. Now, still, we should take it seriously. But here's what I think people are missing. 100% of everybody's focus right now is coronavirus, and there are still other things going on. More people died yesterday from complications to diabetes and obesity and heart disease and cancer and accidents. Any one of those more people died from complications of those than they did from coronavirus. So I'm not saying that it's not important by all means. That would be reckless for me to even suggest that. But we still need to be doing the things that are important to add health. We still need to be getting adjusted. We still need to be exercising. We still need to be praying and meditating. We still need to be eliminating sugar from our diets. That suppresses our immune system for 12 hours, 1 teaspoon of sugar, as you know. We need to be using our oils. We need to be doing supplements. We need to be eating clean food, drinking clean water. We can't throw the baby out with the bathwater and go, oh my gosh, there's a virus that's floating around and I'm not around anybody, so I'm not going to get it, but I still, and I'm going to eat a bunch of junk food and get, and stress totally throws the autonomic nervous system, as you teach all the time, into autonomic imbalance, into sympathetic overload. And so now when the nervous system is in fight or flight, we can't be in growth and survival at the same time. Well, if we're all stuck in survival neurologically, if our foot's on the gas pedal, you and I have to take people and get their foot neurologically on the brake pedal so that they can respond. The nervous system's role is to allow us to adapt to our environment. Well, I can't think of a better time that we need to be as adaptable as possible as right now. So kudos to you, for serving your community as well, because it's vitally important now more than ever.
Thank you, Doc. I like to extend my invitation to all my colleagues to serve your community the safest, best way possible. Keep in mind, safety of the patients and practice members comes first. Make sure you practice all the hygienes that has been recommended by the public health and serve the community. That's what we are made for. That's what we went to school for. That's what we got a license for. Now, you mentioned about our eating habits. I just want to dive into the eating habits a bit because everybody's all about trying to boost their immune system, but it's just not a bunch of supplements that you need to eat.
Right.
It's a whole regiment.
Of course.
So give us some info about the food and what type of the food we should be eating and avoiding at the same time.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've heard the adage, you are what you eat, right? And so I would ask, if we are what we eat, are we dead or alive? Are we eating food that's dead or are we eating food that's alive? Is it life-giving food? Is it food that our immune systems have to respond to? The short answer is if God made it, we can eat it. We also tell people, to eat food that is fresh, alive, and so fruits and vegetables. And an easy rule of thumb is more than half of your diet should be raw. So salads, fruits, vegetables, those are so important. That's food God made, so we of course should be eating that. That's what it's there for. Things that are processed, for sure, stay away from as much as possible. Things that are in a box, package, can. If you do have to eat something that's in a box, package, or can, make sure it passes the label test, which means it has 3 ingredients or less, and you can pronounce every word on there. So if you're eating a Kind bar and the Kind bar has apricots, almonds, and coconut, perfect. I had to open a box and a package to eat it, but it's only got 3 ingredients and I know what those are. If I don't know what the ingredients are, my body is not going to either. And so we're just giving our body more to do. And I would say, I would just ask, when was the last time you saw a veterinarian give a giraffe Doritos and Mountain Dew, right? Like, it doesn't happen. And, we don't put crappy fuel in our car. And so for sure, what we're eating is extremely important that way. So that's kind of a foundational piece.
It's amazing how sugar hides in all sorts of food. I mean, diet, low fat. It comes under a lot of different names, but bottom line, it's sugar.
Right. Anything
Now,
with ose, glucose, fructose, lactose, anything ending in ose or ace, if you're reading ingredients, is sugar.
Now, when it comes to movement and exercising, how important is that to our overall well-being?
Hugely important. I mean, we get one body. We can't replace it. Contrary to popular belief, we cannot replace our body. And so I believe that my teeth and my heart are both important. And I would ask people if they believe that. And we always know what people believe based on their behaviors. And so if you believe your teeth are important, then I would just ask, how often are you doing something to help your teeth? Well, people brush and floss, at least we're told we're supposed to, at least twice a day, right? And so I feel like if my heart is at least as important as my teeth, I should do something for my heart at least every day. And so, from a spiritual standpoint, for me, that looks like prayer, Bible reading, journaling. And then from a physical standpoint, we should be exercising 30 minutes every day that ends in Y. There are 48 half-hour segments every day. We all have the same 48 half-hour segments. And I'm just suggesting that we take one of those 48 segments, devote that to intentional movement, where we get our heart up. What it is really is not that, it doesn't need to be that complicated. It should be something you can enjoy. Probably shouldn't be able to have a conversation like this while you're doing it. You should be a little bit more out of breath than that. But it should be really, really simple. The more complicated things are, the more excuses we have to avoid those. So personally, behind me, I'm in my home office. My family and I have a Peloton bike and Peloton tread, and then we have the apps for that. I think that's phenomenal. And we were doing that before we were supposed to be social distancing. So we actually haven't noticed a huge change. And you don't have to have those. You can do push-ups, sit-ups. You can run outside, jog. Find something you enjoy doing, though, and commit to moving for 30 minutes every day.
Movement is so essential for our body. I mean, as a species, we thrive on movement. If you're not moving, it just opens the door to the whole new range of diseases,
Yeah.
illnesses. I mean, it's well documented. Exercise will increase the production of endorphins in your body.
That's
and
right.
The endorphins are what makes you happy, positive, and calm.
Right.
So, I mean, if all the information you're getting from the social media, from your news, from people, is causing stress on you, maybe exercise is a great deal.
It is a huge deal. Yeah.
You do a little bit. I mean, 45 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes a day. As you mentioned, it doesn't have to be very complicated. As you mentioned, all you have to do is make sure that you are putting a little bit of more stress on the body. So the conversation like this, if you're talking to somebody, a sentence, you can't say it. You must take a couple of breaths between sentences as a rule of thumb, basically.
Right. That's a good rule of thumb.
Now, when it comes to supplementation, the field is so wide, and everybody claims this thing is better than that thing. And, you know, as you mentioned, whole food is what we should be eating.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. But the issue is that the quality of our food over the decades have decreased. Hence, now we have to take some supplementation just to combat the depletion of the quality of our food.
True.
What supplements would you recommend?
So I, just like you and I don't do the same adjustment. Like if 5 people come in with a headache, we don't have a headache adjustment. If people come in with low back pain, we don't have a low back pain adjustment. As doctors of chiropractic, we're looking for the subluxation that's pinching the nerve, and it's specific. So it just like somebody can't come in with a symptom and we say, oh, we have a protocol for that symptom. Everything we do is based on what our examination tells us needs to happen, and x-rays and whatever other systems you're using, that's what tells us exactly what to do. And so the same way with supplementation. Now, I know a lot of people that suggest a certain base, level of supplements. I actually don't do that. I see a doctor every 6 weeks, and I get tested and dosed for whatever supplements I need. I don't do the work in my office. I don't sell the supplements in my office. I refer out for that. If somebody held a gun to my head and said, I can't get in to see a doctor and I need immune system support, I would tell them exactly what I just told you and say, I don't really believe in protocol-based work because everybody's body is different. And so, but if they said, I get it, but I just need something, I would say some basic foundational pieces would certainly be vitamin D. People get sick in the fall, winter, and early spring, not really because there's a season of sickness. It's because we're not moving. Starting in October, we're buying Halloween candy. And then we keep on that Halloween candy until Thanksgiving comes, and then we're eating pumpkin pie and pecan pie and extra whipped cream and all these things. And then from between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we're still eating tons of sugar. We're not moving. It's cold out. We're complaining about it. So we're inside. So we're not moving. We're eating crappy food, and we're not getting any sunshine. And so, to combat those, sure, I think vitamin D is important. I don't ever recommend doses because it's fat soluble, and I think we need to be tested for that. Also, as the seasons change, our needs for vitamin D will change. But vitamin D is important. Right now, vitamin C is important. That can have immune boosting capabilities. I'm a big fan of essential oils. And so because those can cross the phospholipid bilayer in each cell and get right into the cell, which medicine can't do, I think oils are hugely important. So immune boosting oils are things like wild orange. In the doTERRA line would be On Guard, lemon, oregano, frankincense. Those are really, really awesome. And then I like standard process supplements. Imuplex is good. Conjuplex is good. And then there are a whole bunch of other lines, but everybody needs something different. So I'm always reluctant just to list off, because people can go just try to get those and that might not be what you need. And so I think we have to be careful with that.
And one has to realize, again, it's a lifestyle.
That's
Just to
right.
boost up your immune system now, it's not
Right.
going to help you now.
It's like trying to get your swimsuit body, the end of May. It's like, well, you know.
That's very funny.
And my wife says, "Hey, I can't blame it on the holidays because I'm fat in August too." That's what she tells me. So
Now, when it comes to essential oils, you just mentioned, how do you use them and how do you take them? Can you give some directions to our listeners and viewers so they can understand how to utilize essential oils?
yeah, so they should be healthcare grade for sure. And so we don't recommend buying oils in a store. I would get them from a doctor or a distributor that has healthcare grade oils. You can do it a couple ways. You can diffuse it so that you're breathing it in. You can rub it on. You can put it in veggie caps and swallow it. Those are the three ways. So you can swallow it, rub it on, or breathe it in. Those are the three ways that you can do it. I like simple, and so we have a cold and flu balm in our office. It's a blend of 5 oils. I can tell you what the oils are. I don't know what the proportions are. My wife is who does those. But it's oregano, on guard, frankincense, lemon, and there's one more, maybe, I think there's a tea tree, melaleuca, something like that. Anyway, those are all in different proportions, are in a roller ball. And then I just roll it on because I don't like it on my hands. I don't want it on my computer. So I prefer the roller ball. And then in the morning, I put it on the soles of my feet before I put my socks on. And just so that I'm constantly getting more support from that.
Dr. Lazar, I mean, these recommendations are great, but one thing is for sure, that mindset and how we keep our mind calm to understand and digest the information is paramount to everything else.
That's true.
How do you do that? What do you recommend for your practice members and your community to do in order to keep themselves calm and ultimately keep the family calm?
Well, central to what I do is my faith. I realize that not everybody shares the same faith that I do, but what I can tell you is personally, if all we have is here and now, and I hear that a lot, like all you have is the present moment. I understand the value of being fully present, and I understand where that sentiment is coming from. But if all we have is here and now, then everything is a big deal. My daughter is 15, and if a guy stops texting her or whatever, that's a bigger deal than it will be when she's 30, right? And her perspective will shift. And so when we have everything is right now, then everything is a huge deal. When we start to look at things from an eternal perspective and we say, wait a minute, this is just a blip in a larger perspective, in a larger story, then it starts to lose a lot of its power. It doesn't mean it's not important, but foundationally, that's what I do. I very much, I run an organization with a large team. I have a lot of responsibilities. When downturns like this happen, it's scary. And what I'll tell you is this: I used to think that fear meant there was something wrong. I thought fear meant the absence of courage, or that courage meant the absence of fear. It doesn't mean that at all. It means, the question becomes, I ask my kids and I ask myself, I understand you're afraid. It is okay to be afraid. That doesn't make you weak. The question is, can you be afraid and do it anyway? And so it's like we have this mindset that we have to be tough and resist fear. I don't know of a way to resist fear unless you want to live an average life. And if you want to live an average life, John Acuff talks about this in his book called Start. If you want to live an average life, fear will give you a pass. In fact, he says specifically, if you want to rock vanilla all the way to the grave, fear will give you a pass. But if you want to do things that are significant, that matter, that have impact, that will add value, fear is gonna rear its ugly head. And fear is a very schizophrenic thing. Fear will tell you whether you're starting a business or whether you're facing coronavirus or whether your kiddo has a cough right now, or whether fear will tell you, oh my gosh, it's not going to work. We can't make it. We're not going to survive. We're going to lose all our money, and we're going to lose our house, and they're going to take our family away, and we're going to lose our teddy bear, and we're just going to lose everything. And the stock market's going to crash. And we're just, I mean, this is it. Fear tells us that. And then when we realize, you know what? Maybe that's not going to happen. Maybe we need to, starting a business is a good example. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I can't do it. That's what fear tells us. And then when we decide we're going to do it, fear switches its story. It becomes schizophrenic, and it says, okay, then you have to build your business. It has to be fully built and operational in 30 days. And you're like, wait, I thought you just said I can't do it. Now you're saying I have to do it all right now. And so fear is a liar. And I just think, when it surfaces, we just have to tell fear, hey, thank you for sharing. I'm still going to stay the course. And that is what I have to do personally, because it is scary. I don't know, from an economic standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, this is affecting my team big time. And it is scary. But the question is, can we be scared and do it anyway? It starts to lose a lot of its power.
I like to share with you a couple of quotes that I got from Dr. John DeMartini.
Mm-hmm.
He says, it is the challenges in life that often initiate greater innovations, create solutions, and ingenious actions.
Absolutely.
Also, there's no crisis without a blessing, no challenge without the opportunity,
mm-hmm.
no setback without a step forward, and no experience that cannot initiate great meaning.
That's right.
I found a lot of meaning on that.
That's true.
So
it's our perspective. I mean, if I had plans to have a romantic evening with my wife and have dinner and hire a chef and have violinists come over and our kids are with their grandparents and I have everything arranged, right? I mean, I did my part. I arranged everything. And then it starts thundering and lightning and pouring down rain right before that. I can't do anything about that situation, right? I don't have control whether there's a storm when I'm supposed to have dinner on the deck with a violin and a beautiful sunset and it starts raining. I cannot control that. The only thing I can do is refocus and say, what was the outcome I wanted? Oh, I wanted a romantic evening with my wife. That is what I wanted. So now I'm faced with a choice. We can't do anything about the situation, right? Because we can't control that. But if we focus on the outcome we want, then that leaves one clear choice, because my choices in how I respond into the situation are option number one, I can freak out. I can attach meaning. I can say, you know what? This is why I don't do this. I can't plan anything. Nothing I plan works out. You know what? Just forget it. This is stupid. I'm so sick of always, failing and things just not working out. I have that choice, don't I?
Yes, you do.
But the second choice I have is, wait a minute. I want a romantic evening with my wife. Me freaking out is not going to give me a romantic evening with my wife. So what can I do? Oh, okay, here's what I can do. I can back the cars out of the garage. I can sweep the garage out. I can hang lights up in the garage. I can move the bistro table into the garage, set up the string quartet in the garage, and then the chef can bring the food out to the garage and we can eat, and then we can dance while the violinists are playing, and we can hear the rain pouring outside, and we can still have a romantic evening. And my wife could say, that's my guy right there, because
you just made me look bad in front of my wife. I can't believe this.
Hey, I got the idea from you. Thank you for telling me. So, but the point is, the only choice we have in the matter is how we're going to respond. And when we know what we want, that's how we can figure out how we want to respond.
Dr. Jonathan Lazar, you have been amazing. Thank you for joining us. I certainly am grateful for the time that you devoted to this interview.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you having me, and thanks for all you're doing. You guys stay safe.
You too, and thank you for your service, my friend.
Of course. You too. Bye. Blessings.